Alright, hello. Gabriel Fajardo here. I'm going to walk you through setting up your development environment. So we're going to start with the backend. On the backend, we're using Go, and we come here to download the necessary package. For me, for example, on Windows, I would install the Microsoft System Installer, and I would make sure that I would get the 1.11 version because that's the one that we developed in. So we install that and make sure that you set up your Go path correctly. You're gonna need that so you can install packages and all those things. Then we're using the Postgres database, and I don't believe the version matters too much. I like pgadmin, so I would look for an installer that has this included. Then once those two things are installed, um, you come here and there's a file that is not included on the Git. It's ignored. It's this one, the .env file. So this is basically all the settings for connecting to a local database. So if you want to set up your local database, you need to add this file. And so this first property is the name of the schema that you're gonna create on your database, and these are your credentials. So that's that. And then this JSON Web Token is for so that the server can sign the token on the database. It's for security measures. So this is just a randomly generated alphanumeric string. I went to a website and I asked for a certain length, and I just pasted this in. So after you've set up your database, your backend and everything, you should be able to run a command like this. So this builds everything, and then it also starts up the package. So it's here. This is basically what it builds, and then we start it up. Um, let me see. Let me see. Okay. Also, to install your packages, the packages that I used for the backend, you come here to the Go deps on the root directory, Go deps, and you go to this file, and you basically do go get, and you just paste each package here. So for example, this one, I would come do this, and I already have it installed, so it's not going to do anything. But that's how you would go about getting all of the packages needed. So backend check. Then we're going to go to the Facebook client. So for the Facebook client, we need to come to the Node website and install. I would recommend, yeah, I think the long-term stable version is going to be the best one to download. And we need this because Facebook requires a secure connection to the client. So if you come here to the documents, let's look through this link that's here. Part of the document is so you can know why we're installing Node at this point. So we need it so we can install the HTTP server, and with this server we'll be able to connect to the Facebook client over HTTPS. There's a few other requirements that you need. You need a few certificates, and I posted a link on on the document for Windows, which is really useful if you're on Windows. But basically, you need to follow through this link and set up your certificates. Once those are once those are set up, you should be able to do a command like the following. If I have it, no, I don't have it. Hold on. Yeah, so in the document I have the command that you will ideally be able to run, which will allow you to start up your localhost server. And so if I come here, you see I can already I can connect, I can start up my client. So again, that was installing Node, setting up the SSL, OpenSSL, and then saving these files, these certificates. You need to save them, and they're ignored, so you just call them the same name as this, and this will set up your OpenSSL, and then you'll be able to run a command like the one I just showed you. Then we need to set up the admin dashboard client. So this one is the easiest one of all. You come here to the yarn. You come here to install yarn. So this is where to install it. This is for Windows. You can change your OS, and you just download the installer and get yarn into your environment, so that you can do this. Basically, you come into the admin dashboard and you install all the packages like this. So it would basically get all of the packages in the package.json. So it gets all of the packages. Apparently I'm missing some. And so that's it. And then once it's done, I'll just wait for this to finish. All right, so now that that's done installing, basically you're able to do this with with this with this package. You come here, you set HTTPS to true, and this is so that you can authenticate with Facebook, and then you do yarn start, and that starts up your client. So that's it for setting up your environment. That would set you up all the way through. All right, so now I want to describe a little bit how to maintain this application. Of course, there's a lot of things to consider, and I'm not gonna go through everything, but I will show you kind of like the major files where you can see how everything connects, and then it'll be up to you to kind of dive a little deeper. So the app.js file is a really good file to know how everything is connected, because it's how we set up our routes for the Facebook client. So basically the .when means that when you're at this URL, you're gonna be using these files. So if you're at the dashboard, you're gonna be using the dashboard controller, and you're gonna be seeing this HTML file. So I'm gonna point out this one. I'm gonna go a little deeper on this one just because the naming is a little bit off. So the dashboard controller, you're gonna find it at under the controller directory, and it's actually, I believe it's gonna be, yeah, the file, if you notice, it's called courses controller, but then we changed the name to dashboard controller. This is the name that's registered for the Angular.js. So when you're at /dashboard, you go to this controller, and so basically this controller is taking control of that view, which is the that student dashboard.html. Then to sort of know how the client is connecting to the backend, a good spot to look at that is the courses factory, but then also any place that calls this service. So for example, right here, we come to HTTPS, we're calling this endpoint, the API/emails endpoint. So if we take that example, we come to main.go, and here we have all of the endpoints that we've implemented this semester. So we were looking for the email. We want to understand what it does exactly. So we see, okay, this is the route. So I come to main.go, and I come all the way down to where the emails is, and I see that it's that when I trigger this this endpoint, I pass the control over to this function. So this is sort of like the first step in knowing like what's happening with the endpoints. So I go to controllers. I go to controllers, and I go to, I already know where it's going to be. It's going to be in the email controller, but you would basically look for the name, and we're looking for send registration request email. So we come, and we see send registration request email. So you would walk through this code and figure out what it's doing. Another useful thing to know is that the controllers are always calling the models. So the models are kind of like the service. So the admin controller is using the admin model. All right. Then another thing that's useful to know is this JSON Web Token middleware. This is here in backend middleware. This is kind of like an intermediate step between receiving a request and then figuring out like what to do with it. This is kind of like the middle step of knowing like what handler to pass it to. So there's a few up at the top. There's like a list of endpoints that are not secured. So whenever you're calling another endpoint, you need to make sure that you're passing it the token. And so this will sort of, you'll see an example of let me show you an example of how we're using the security. So in the admin dashboard, we have this admin component that allows you to create admin accounts. So this is the call right here. It's posting a new user, and you need to add this token. So this token, if when you play around with the code, you figure out how this token is generated, but this token needs to be passed down, and it's always in state, so you don't need to worry too much about like where it's coming from. Just know that it's there, always in state. I believe that will be all. Thank you.